We move from the Roval and down in Pensacola all the way out west to the Tiny Triangle in Hanford, California, as we welcome you into tonight's broadcast of the Fuel Grand National Series, race number 4 of the season. Hi, hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hanford 140K presented by ErnhrtFanRacing. The Fuel Grand National Series' 4th race of the season. Live here on the North American Sim Racing Network. My name is Trey Wright, joined alongside by the Colonel of Caleb Rose. And it is going to be another fantastic race out here on the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage of the Fuel Grand National Series. We're just getting practice dealt here before we'll go into qualifying. But Caleb, this is the Tiny Triangle. It is a miniature western version of the Pocono Raceway here at Hanford. And it is bound to be a very fun race here with 17 cars ready to do battle here out in the Golden State.
Yeah, definitely nice to finally be back up here, and I am definitely looking forward to this one. Definitely seems like a very interesting racetrack. Yeah, like you were talking about, it honestly just kind of seemed to me like a cracked out version of Pocono, but I've never seen any races at this track going in, but definitely looking forward to seeing how it does play out, and definitely have to say a very nice looking track as well. Honestly, really like the scenery around this place. Kind of looks like a local dirt track you'd see in the old NASCAR like Dirt to Daytona games, and we even got a little marina out in the infield as well. Formula One ain't got nothing on this, but I'm very excited to see how this race does play out. It's a very unique track. I think that'll definitely play a big factor in the racing that we do see here tonight.
It's going to be a fun one. Again, like you said, we got a marina with actual water. The Miami Grand Prix could take a few notes here as we take a look around the infield section. Of course, the exterior of this track is very fun as well. About a mile, a 1.375 mile course, I believe. And again, the amount of detail that has been put into this track, basically the pet project, the grandchild, or just the child of Nicky Conti, who designed this track. Absolutely beautiful facility here, based on the real-life Hanford Motor Speedway that closed in it was established in 1952, and I believe closed in 1970. But Apollo High, no surprise to see her top of the charts in practice right now, with Vincenzo Focusato in second. We got 18 cars in the server right now. And a couple of newcomers, Caleb, into the server. We got Bud Kerrang in the 57, as well as Anthony Bauer in the number 9. But we got a couple of newcomers, and of course there is Nicky Conti driving that classic Hot Topic number 85 Ford Mustang. We got a couple of newcomers, like we said, a couple of old-timers as well. It's glad to see Rich Roy back in the server, as we got about 2 minutes to go in practice. But again, with how technical of a track this is, and we'll take a look at the track itself here in just a moment. Again, you got it's almost identically shaped to Pocono. There's a little bit of a bend between turns 3 and turn 1, and of course the start-finish line, much like the Talladega Superspeedway, all the way down before you get into that 22 degrees of banking in turn number 1. But you got the long straight, you got the back straight, and of course you've got the front straightaway for a very unique race course, especially with all 3 corners. Again, you saw Kenny Campos get a little loose there going through turn number 1. You also saw some traffic in there. That's one thing that during qualifying we might have to pop in and out of the server just to take those path files out of the way so we don't see cars glitching through. But just a small little nitpick there with the traffic, but other than that, this is a beautiful track, beautifully constructed track, a beautifully designed track, and this is going to be an exciting race. A very technical track. Our first real technical oval track of the season, Caleb, after the Roval last week at Pensacola, which was just an utter, I don't want to say disaster. It was very fun, but it was very challenging for a couple of drivers, and we're going to see some similar results here probably.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very intrigued to see how the technicality of this track does play into tonight's race. Like you mentioned, got a couple newcomers here tonight, which is definitely awesome to see. I'm very intrigued to see how they perform here tonight. But yeah, kind of just like the IRL Pocono Raceway, all corners definitely quite different from one another. Like we were talking about turn one, an especially interesting place. Got a lot of banking there in turn one compared to the other corners. Like you're talking about, it comes just right after the start finish line. So basically, as soon as you come to start a complete lap, you're going to be faced with that turn one just right then and there. So, going to be interesting to see how all that does play out in tonight's race, but should definitely make for quite the interesting, fun, and challenging contest here tonight for these drivers.
And it definitely will. Part of a very fun and challenging, really slate of tracks we've got here in season number 8. We'll take another look at the schedule as old Trek Togger nearly going right into the pit barrels. But we're 3 races in. We'll be 4 races into the slate after this evening. And, you know, we go to these next slate of tracks. We start things out at Las Vegas next Wednesday on March 11th, and then we're on to the Daytona backstretch for race number 6. Not the Daytona International Speedway, the backstretch, the old UNOH track, the UNOH Battle at the Beach track that they had there back at, God, what was that, 2010, 2011, the one where Mike Stefanik crashed out on air after that. But then we've got a couple of dirt tracks on the schedule as well with Fuel Motorsports Park and the Land of Legends Raceway. Those are going to be bookending the race at the Rockingham Speedway, which is going to be very fun in itself as well. And, of course, the Kansas Speedway and Autodrome de Paris, which is a reskin of 1997 Atlanta Motor Speedway, which we've already raced there once. We already know that that is a very chaotic race, and we saw it was very chaotic in the Super Speedway Series as well. But season number 8 definitely does not disappoint. And again, we say it every week, and we'll say it again if you're interested. This is your first time watching the Fuel Racing League and the Fuel Grand National Series. And if you're interested in potentially racing in the Fuel Grand National Series, link for the Discord server is down below. We welcome all levels of talent here in Fuel. And it is, it's going to be, I sound like a broken record every time I say it, but I truly believe it. It's going to be a very fun race at a very detailed track as we are ready to go here for qualifying for the Hanford 140K. And no, it looks like we're going to reset the server here, so we're going to go ahead and take a short break once we get everything out of here in just a moment. But we're going to go ahead, take a short break, and then we'll be right back to the go here for race number 4 of season number 8 of the Fuel Grand National Series here at Hanford. Don't go anywhere, folks. We are back here as qualifying has wrapped up at the Hanford Motor Speedway. No surprise to see Apollo Hyde top of the charts in that number 100 machine with Dunlop-Rod. Going to be on the outside pole as well. See the starting lineup for all 18 cars that will take the grid here for this afternoon's race, this evening's race, I should say. As we get ready to get happy hour. We're right in the midway point of happy hour, so we're going to go ahead and get that all situated. But taking a look at the rest of your starting lineup again, 16 cars taking time. Drew Fast and Grant Warren, the only ones that could not take a time. We got the newcomers. Anthony Bauer in that number 8 machine, that number 9 machine, qualifying in 8th. Pretty good, all things considered. Right now, Taylor Stolworthy is going to be the head of happy hours. There is Grant Warren, that beautiful Menards number 33 machine, part of the Warren Wentz Racing satellite program. As he and Connor Edwards are teammates, with Edwards not in the lineup here this evening, but Grant Warren is. Warren making his second race, if I'm not mistaken, of the season. He did not race at Pensacola a week ago. It's Paulo Hyde, then the pole sitter, going to be that favorable driver. But again, I'm noticing a lot of drivers are having some issues in turn number 3, Caleb. That flat third turn, much like the Pocono Raceway, where you just got to try to roll through the corner, tap the brakes a little bit, but we're seeing some drivers tap the brakes a little too much. And this is really turning into a little bit of it's going to be Pocono on steroids, I believe. Or Pocono and Rockingham combined, I think, Caleb, would be my guess. Blake Warren's going to smack the wall out of turn number 2. That's going to be a trouble area as well in that second turn.
Going to sacrifice your handling in all the other different corners, so yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how these drivers cope with all these corners being so different in variety, but it's definitely going to make things interesting, as we are seeing so far here in both practice and happy hour. We've seen a lot of guys lose the car through turns 1, 2, and 3. We've seen a lot of guys go up and slap the outside wall as well, so we'll have to see if they can keep the cars underneath them come race time, but it's definitely looking like it's going to bring the best out of all these drivers here tonight.
Well, if there's anybody that's really good at setups, that's definitely going to be Apollo Hyde. She and that 74 of Dunlop-Rod, they're going to definitely be the class end of the field here tonight, as they know how to set up their cars well. They're going to be starting on the front row, so no surprise to see them up at the top of the charts. But it's going to be the drivers in the middle of the pack, the Ike Durbins, the Vincenzo Focusados, and really some other drivers as well. It's going to be Nikki Conti and Crystal Bennett, guys and gals that aren't as well versed as setups, but still put together really good runs and really fast race cars. I think, and of course, Nikki Conti has got the inside drop on it. She's the one that built this track, designed this track. As around goes Bud Kerrang. And he's going to partially spin around and end up in the dust. But I think Nikki Conti is definitely going to be that underdog pick here tonight, Caleb.
I definitely like her talk about it. Of course, Nikki, the designer of this track, definitely knows the ins and outs of this track, so I definitely expect her to do quite well here tonight. And we're talking about Apollo Hyde, Dunlop-Rod. They're always contenders week in and week out, and definitely still showing some muscle so far here in the pre-race. So definitely a lot of drivers to look out for here tonight, but we'll have to see if any underdogs potentially slip through the cracks of a track like this. You never know. You never know, especially here and in our online, I should say. Offline too, you can never really know what to expect, but online especially, anything can happen, and we'll just have to wait and see how it ends up shaking out.
Well, it's going to shake out one way or another for race number 4 of the season, and it's going to be a blast one way or another, as we'll send things down onto the back straightaway. Send things down trackside for the most famous words in motorsports to get race number 4 Season number 8 underway for 140 kilometers out west in California. Here for the 4th race of the season, the Hanford 140K presented by ErnhrtFanRacing. Here on the North American Sim Racing Network, we send things down trackside.
Drivers, start your engines.
And we are ready to rock and roll. 18 cars ready to do battle for 63 laps, and Apollo Hyde will lead the field to the green flag. Caleb, I think we're definitely in store for a fun one here tonight. Who's your pick to win the Hanford 140K?
Honestly, I think I got to go with our pole sitter of Apollo Hyde. She's shown a lot of speed so far in the pre-race, and like you're talking about, she definitely knows her way around setting up a car, so I'd definitely look out for that 100 car here tonight.
She's going to be one of the favorites. She starts on the pole, has been the fastest throughout practice and qualifying. As here we are. Green flag is out and away, and the Hanford 140K is live here in California.
Boogity, boogity, here we go through turn 1 for the first time.
3 wide, a couple of rows deep, and everybody is able to survive the opening corner. For better or for worse, Emi Schizzato trying to get back out to the outside lane. They're all single file for the first 5 or so positions, with Hyde right now the race leader over that 74 car of LaPrade. LaPrade trying to draw a little bit of a bead on the rear end of that 100 machine. Will come around to complete lap number 1, and everybody ramrod straight for the time being. Here comes LaPrade on the high side of that progressive banking up in turn number 1. And he is going to get the job done. What a pass on the outside lane for car number 74. And now Hyde's going to fall back into that second position. And we know, Caleb, that this is going to be a very interesting track where tire wear is going to mean absolutely everything. And we're definitely going to see it here tonight, as unfortunately our ticker got a little bit messed up with the lap count. So we're going to try and fix that here quickly.
Lead change once again. Focusato around the outside.
Vincenzo Focusato on the outside, and he's able to complete the pass on the 74 here on lap number 3 of the event. And it's unfortunate sometimes where sometimes the ticker will unfortunately go wrong. We'll try to fix it here under our first caution flag. But we are on lap number 3 of the event with 61 laps to go, and now Focusato going to fall out to a pretty big lead over LaPrade after getting the job done on the outside lane of turn number 1. It looks like, much like the real-life Pocono Raceway, the outside of turn number 1, or just turn number 1 in general, looks to be the biggest passing area for a lot of these drivers to try to get things going, as we see Emi Schizzato moving around Taylor Stolworthy. 1 car on the outside wall. That is Bobby Simpson, who got up into the marbles in turn number 1, up into the sandblasts. He and Kenny Campos have dropped back in the 71, as Campos will drop back into that 18th position behind the 33 of Grant Warren. But it's been a caution-free affair so far. And we got pretty good battle brewing for second place, as Crystal Bennett, she's going to go to the outside of Apollo Hyde. She got very tight going through turn number 1, just about lost that charger. And it's going to lose a little bit of a charge in the momentum on that Valvoline Dodge. I think Apollo's definitely saving that tire wear for the long run. We know she loves to run very loose setups. She's also, you want to conserve your tire wear, especially at a track like this where it's very easy to burn up your rubber, especially early on.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that drivers like Hyde and LaPrade are kind of hanging back a little bit right now, maybe trying to save their stuff for once we do get to the long run. Then we got guys like Focusato and Crystal Bennett trying to make the most, and now Bennett with a slide there up at turn number 1 keeps the car in check, though. Definitely seeing a lot of cars kind of loosey-goosey around here, especially turn one. Definitely seems like one of those corners that 1 second it could be plowing tight, the next the car could just completely fall out from underneath you. So definitely seems like the pretty challenging racetrack, but so far everybody's handling it well. So we are clean and green here so far. Coming to complete lap 56, and Focusato's opened up a pretty sizable gap back to the 74 Dunlop-Rod.
1.1 seconds this last time by. LePron trying to close in a little bit. He running that lower groove on the inside, which is the shorter way around the track, but it's definitely going to eat up a lot on those Goodyears. And, you know, what else can you really say about Vincenzo Focusato trying to get his first win in quite some time? We got one car around. That was Grant Warren, who went around in turn number 2. And he will be the first car to fall off of the lead lap on lap number 7, as the rest of the field will trundle around that Menards Ford Fusion, Ford Mustang, I should say. So used to seeing the Ford Fusions back over on my offline side of things here in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, and we've got a caution flag for the opening time.
Scuzzato.
Emi Scuzzato has gone around in turn number 3 right in front of the Marina, and it looks like she may have got a little help from somebody as we're under the yellow flag for the opening time, and it looks like Blake Warren may be the cause of that 97 car going around. But got our first yellow flag of the afternoon. Vincenzo Focusato, who has led 6 laps on the day, will lead the field back to the stripe, and will lead these guys down the pit lane. We'll try to get our ticker a little bit more cleaned up here, and that should be good to go. See a lot of drivers already with some right side damage. Bud Kerrang, who has got into the outside wall a couple of times in that Old Bay Ford Mustang. He's got some battle scars, and I believe it might be Taylor Stolworthy who punted that 97 car around, as it looks like he's going to the end of the longest line. We got a line of cars coming down the pit lane. They're not all painted black. They're painted red, blue, and black. We got a couple of cars that are painted black here, Caleb.
Definitely. You got the 29 of Rich Roy all decked out in black, like you're talking about. Nice to see Roy here back in the series, and we're going to get a clean race in here. And doing a good job at that so far. Definitely have to give a shout out to Anthony Bauer, running pretty well so far in their debut. Is running inside the top 10 for pretty much the entire race so far, and that's solid stuff there for them, as Dunlop-Rod going to just beat Apollo Hyde out of the pits, but it's still Focusato out in front. So Bennett, they're going to come out in fourth with Nicky Conti with a good run going. Right now, I guess rounding out your top 5.
We'll take a look and see what happened to put us under the caution flag, as a slew of drivers stood out. Trek Togger, Bobby Simpson, and Bud Kerrang are going to like to stay out of the pit lane. Same thing with Blake Warren, but I believe Blake might be a lap down. I think Trek was just looking to get a lap led, as he and Bobby Simpson will come down the pit lane too. We'll take a look and see what happened to put us under the first caution flag of the day, if we can find. There is Emi Scuzzato, who has had a tough couple of weeks in that 97 machine, and take a look and see what happened going into turn number 3. Is in turn number 2 right now, and I think Stolworthy may have misjudged the brakes a little bit on that 97. He had his pop and Emmy in the rear, and around goes that Connor Zilich-inspired 97 car. Easy multi, easy caution to be called. And unfortunately for Scuzzato, it's a tough start. It's going to muck up the back end a little bit there, but not exactly the start to the race you want, especially for a driver that's very good at these technical tracks, Caleb.
Definitely, and it's going to be interesting to see how this restart and everything ends up shaking out, but I'll tell you what, Vincenzo Focusato, LeProd, Apollo Hyde have definitely been class of the field here so far, but it's a long way to go left in this race, and I'll have to see how it does end up shaking out.
So we get another look at Scuzzato going around, and that was just a racing deal, but Stolworthy, I should say, taking full control, full accountability of that crash. Corey Day could learn a thing or two about taking accountability for one's actions. Same thing for Ty Gibbs, going back to the debate we had earlier on in the server before we got things underway. And right as we come back, green flag back out in the air, And oh,
Ooh,
Stallhood
Tyler.
up into the
Oh,
outside
boy.
wall. He's able to contain that automobile.
Let's hold on to it.
Not quite a good save, or not quite as good of a save as we're used to saying out of that RCA number 7 machine.
In the outside wall off of turn 2.
And these guys flogging it all over the place, trying to get any positions that they can. We nearly had 3 wide. We are going to have 3 wide as Kerrang had a moment through turn number 3. And around goes Drew Fast in the 4. Right in the entrance of the pit area, is going to just barely nudge that car into the pit wall. Photographers were scrambling, and he's jumped on the brakes. Wrong place, wrong time. Fortunately, nobody else was involved, but that is very unfortunate for Drew Fast. He is going to lose a lot of spots in that 4 machine. He was running in 7th at the time, and he'll fall all the way down to 17th, the last car on the lead lap.
A break there for Drew Fast. Everybody kind of just spreading out quite a bit there on the opening lap, and one bobble turned into a nudge, and a nudge turned into Drew Fast going around there off of turn number 3. Really tough break there for him. Luckily, it was just a nudge there into the pit wall. It doesn't look like he has too much damage. However, yeah, like you mentioned, he just completely lost all of his track position, so that's definitely going to dig him into a bit of a hole there that he needs to dig himself out of. So yeah, really tough break there for Drew Fast, but no caution as a result of that. They stay green for now, and still got a lot of great racing back in here through the field. You got Nicky Conti right now.
Oh, that was a great save off of turn number 2 by Taylor Stolworthy. Had that car pretty much sideways. Just caught the tail end of that save, and Stolworthy in that Halvoline out west throwback car. I believe that's a Jamie McMurray throwback in that the old school Texaco Halvoline colors. Stolworthy right now just inside the top 10 in that 10th spot, right in front of Trek Togger. Has Schizzato back inside the top 10 after that spin earlier on, fighting with the 7 of Stallhood. Those two getting to know each other very, very well. They're side by side through turn number 2. And Emmy is going to take that spot away from Tyler for the 7th spot. And now we're starting to see 3 cars breaking away from one another. But Vincenzo Focasato, the class of the field right now, and who saw this coming? We knew that he was going to be very competitive, but you know, again, I believe Apollo Hyde, you know, taking some lessons after last week, trying to conserve some rubber and definitely conserve a little bit more fuel to the end, as Grant Warren, Bud Kerrang are in the gun sights of the race leaders to be put yet another couple of laps down for those drivers. Kerrang, oh, a little bit of a moment there for the 57, and he's immediately moving out of the way. Oh, Hyde is going to catch him right as they go through, and the yellow flag is back out. It's Rich Roy. Kenny Campos also a little bit tagged in that number 71 car, and for the 2nd time tonight, we're under the caution flag at Hanford. And it looks like just another 2-car incident with a little bit of a pop and spin. And unfortunately for Rich Roy, that is going to put him towards the tail end of the field, and probably the same for Kenny Campos. As we'll quickly see if anybody else will come down the pit lane after not that long of a run. I believe that was probably, what, a 6-lap run under green, Caleb?
Something like that, I would say. Definitely a lot shorter there than the initial run that we had after the drop of the green flag, but tough break there, especially for Rich Roy, and looks like it's going to bring everybody down pit road here once again. So yeah, tire wear must be quite the big factor here in tonight's race. Still got a couple cars a lap down staying out. You got Bobby Simpson actually staying out in the 30.
He's going to get a lap lead.
To get a lap lead here, yeah. So.
Just to get that lap lead bonus. And again, you take a look at the race analysis. We knew that, you know, after these runs, we're going to expect to see maybe a 2nd or maybe even 2 seconds of tire fall off. For the fuel itself, these guys can do about 34 to 36 laps. So they're going to have to come down at least one more time for fuel. But for tires, who knows? We might have to see these guys make multiple pit stops under green. For Focasato, he's going to take 4 Mr. Feelgoods. He's going to be beat out by pit lane by a blindingly fast pit stop there by Don LaPrade. And he will be your new race leader once we go back through the gears here in just a couple of moments. But first things first, we'll take a quick look and see what happened with Rich Roy and I believe Kenny Campos. to put us under our second caution flag of the night, and this immediately just looks like a little recipe for disaster as Bobby Simpson was diving out of the way of Rich Roy. As through turn number 2, Roy to the inside, Kenny is right behind him, and I think Kenny is just, no, Rich lost it all by himself out of turn number 2, and just nowhere to go for Kenny Campos. Just an innocent bystander where he just could not do anything, and very, very unfortunate for both of those drivers. And Roy, you know, he was running pretty decently at the time. So we'll go back around. Yeah, good save out of Blake Warren right in front of him, but Rich Roy is going to go back around in the 29, and a tough break for him in that Bum and Beaver Brewery Millennium Autosport Mazda. As the field, we'll get the 1 to go this next time by, as Bobby Simpson is not going to beat out the pace car, but well, he's definitely going to beat out the pace car, but he's not going to be in the race lead. I think Grant Warren and Blake Warren are both going to take the wave arounds, and it's going to be Dunn LaPrade who's going to be leading his first lap of the afternoon here under caution. He took the race lead for a moment, and you know, he's or earlier on in that second lap of the race, as we were messing around with our ticker trying to get it recalibrated. But overall, haven't seen that Schaefer Group 74 Camaro out front a whole lot. He's been hit or miss with his attendance in these last couple of weeks, as the Warren brothers will take the wave around, as LaPrade will lead the field back towards the choose cone. So we get a good look at our choose cone cam. So we'll see everybody go wherever they may please, and you know, pretty even split of inside versus outside. LaPrade getting back into things. We'll try and recalibrate the other half of our ticker too. Once we get a little bit of a chance. Ooh, I might be messing that up a little bit more than I would like to. If we get another caution, try and change that a little bit more. The more that we go on, of course, you know, technical difficulties, they are, in a word, unfortunate. I think, Caleb, you can definitely attest to some technical difficulties, especially at the worst possible times. You know, they worked earlier. You're like, why is this now messing up now? This worked perfectly when I did an offline race earlier at Las Vegas. But unfortunately, that's the way the technology goes, and especially with how old this game is and how finicky GNL TV can be sometimes, especially with how we've got it designed as we're back to green flag racing. It can be a blessing, it can be a curse, it can be a helpful tool 99% of the time, but it's just that 1% of the time where it's just a gigantic pain in the tuchus, especially when you're trying to do things live. And of course, once you tab out of NR or just click to another screen, NR freezes. So you can't exactly do any sort of shadow work behind the scenes, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. We want to have a scrolling ticker. We're going to have a scrolling ticker. And it's been very well to us over these last couple of months here on North American Sim Racing Network. And you know what? It's got its faults, but I'm not gonna hate it. I'm not gonna complain as much. It's just sometimes unfortunate. But oh, we got another car around. I couldn't tell who that quite was. It was Bobby Simpson, self-spin out of turn 1, I think. And it was a self-spin. Simpson will go back towards Grant Warren, whose entire rear end is completely caved in that Quaker State Ford Mustang. How about Apollo High drawing another really good run off the back end of that 74 car.
Ooh.
Here she goes on to jump onto the brakes, going into turn number 1. Can she get the pass completed? Not quite. Here comes Stallhood in this good battle for third between the 37 and the 7. Stallhood right behind Focusato as it's 4 cars underneath a blanket for the race lead.
Deep there into turn number 3 is a He hangs on to it, but almost got in the back of Focusado.
Oh, Hyde with a big moment off of turn number 3 as we go on board. Way slowing down there was Apollo Hyde. She's going to drop back into 4th as Stolhood. He's going to go underneath the 37 car as we take you for a couple of laps around the Hanford Motor Speedway. On board with the owner of the Fuel Racing League and the director as well, Tyler Stolhood, winner last week with a last lap pass based on fuel strategy in Pensacola. He's going to knock down the fence off of turn number 2 and lose a little bit of ground with the top 2. Hyde moving up to the inside. Those two nearly dooring each other, and here comes that Pepsi Challenger. You can just see the progressive banking in turn number 1 as Focusado and Hyde start to dogfight for the race lead. They're still side by side. See, oh, around goes Apollo. Can she save it? No, she can't. A little bit of a bump and run between two of the league admins, and Apollo Hyde around in a cloud of smoke. And we're under the caution flag for the 3rd time today. Blake Warren, he just nudges it into the tire barriers. And with how close the 107 were running, Caleb, you had a feeling that was inevitable.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some aggressive racing so far here in this one. We've seen a lot of tire lockups as well. And I think, yeah, Solid might have just sent it a little too deep there and gotten to the back of the 100 of Apollo Hyde. Just a real unfortunate situation there. Just a slight, potentially misjudgment there. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes here in racing. A really tough break there for Apollo Hyde, but we'll see if she can get regrouped here under caution, get some maybe fresh tires, get that damage repaired, and get back out there. Start chopping away at some of these guys, but yeah, really tough break there for Apollo Hyde. It was having such a great race up to this point.
And it didn't look like there's a whole lot of damage on that 100 as Taylor Stolworthy is going to stay out to get a lap lead bonus in that one machine. As Stolhood, he's going to speed down the pit lane to give himself an end the longest line penalty. And again, that's a racing deal. We've seen that so many times. But here we go, our 3rd set of pit stops of the afternoon at Hanford. In case you're just tuning in under our 3rd caution flag of the night, as LaPrade will enter his pit stall for the 3rd time tonight. Everybody taking their 3rd round of pit stops, and Hyde is going to start from the pretty tail end of the pack as everybody's going to take 4 tires in front of that 100 machine. LaPrade's going to win the race off the pit lane. It's going to be very tight between Focusado and Conti. But Vincenzo's just going to barely edge out Nikki by a little bit there. But they're both pretty far behind LaPrade as he comes back out onto the back straightaway here at Hanford. Take another look at what happened to put us under caution numero trace of the day, and we pretty much saw it live. The two league admins going around together. It was a very spirited battle between those two. We'll take another look at it. It was pretty much the same thing that happened in the first caution of the race, where Kenny Campos just misjudging, or rather it was Taylor Stolworthy just misjudging Emmy Schizzato. That was in turn number 3. This time was in turn number 2. And Stolhood just unfortunately locking up the brakes at the worst possible time. And those two were battling for that 3rd spot. And just nothing that either of them could really do. We'll get another look at it. Yeah, just way too fast going into the corner, Caleb. Carrying way too much speed, locking up the brakes, and nothing he could do. Mike Durbin also going around in the 86. He was able to regather that Dark Matter Coffee Mazda, but just not what you want, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like I said, just a bit of an unfortunate circumstance there. Just a very slight misjudgment, and fortunately that will result in the 100 car Apollo Hyde going around. A really tough break for both cars involved, and like I said, we'll have to see if especially Apollo Hyde and if both Apollo and Tyler Stahl kind of get regrouped here after that caution flag, but Definitely going to put him in a bit of a precarious situation here towards the back of his pack.
Yeah, we know how wild this back end of the field can get, especially on restarts, but fortunately, you know, this field size isn't too big, only 18 cars in the server. As Hyde will drop down in the 100, trying to get things ready for the choose cone here. As LaPrade is going to choose the inside lane, and everybody else going to choose the outside lane behind him. Oh, Drew Fast, I think he's going to pick up a penalty. He went way over the choose cone. And he might go to the tail end of the longest line after driving over, but pretty much everybody choosing the outside lane inside the top 5. And how about this? Emi Schizzato, we mentioned Drew Fast. Trek Togger, he's that 4th car in the inside lane. And Apollo Hyde will rebound all the way up to 10th after bringing out caution number 3 of the day. That's why the choose cone is just a thing of beauty, Caleb. No matter what level of racing it is, whether it just be Saturday night bull ring racing over at Wall Stadium, my home track, or here in the Fuel Racing League's Grand National Division, or even in the NASCAR Cup Series. The choose cone has been a game changer ever since it was introduced in the 2021 All-Star race, and it's been fun to see the strategies really come out from it.
Definitely. I think it's definitely been a very fun addition to both real life and virtual racing, of course. Definitely makes for some interesting strategy calls before the restart, and hopefully see how it comes into fruition here as we go back green here on lap number 29 of 63. Rod and Focusado lead him down into turn number 1. How about Schizzato, though, in that 97, recovering from that early caution, now up here into the top 3. Great run for that 97 as Schizzato was Focusado with a big dive to the inside for the lead.
Here comes the crossover. Not able to get it that time. There was the 74 as Conti is all over the back end of that 97. Like you said, great recovery for Emi after spinning around on lap number 10 to bring out the first caution flag. She's battled her way all the way back inside the podium, and Crystal Bennett, another driver that has been very quiet over these last couple of weeks, you know, having some technical issues last week as Anthony Bauer will ride the Lightning through turn number 1. But Bennett last week at Pensacola having some technical issues and unfortunately just dive bombing that car into a corner after the game glitched out. The track actually glitched out a week ago. There for Crystal, and Bauer's going to go around, and same thing with Hyde. Hard into the inside wall. 2 cars go. And that will bring the caution flag right back out 3 laps later.
Oh, my goodness.
And OBS disconnected there for a brief moment. I think we should still be good on the YouTube side of things, but we're talking about Anthony Bauer, who was running in that 7th position at the time. Both he and Apollo Hyde lose it off of turn number 1, and it's back-to-back cautions that have been brought out there. And Bauer went hard into that inside wall in that Havoline Viagra machine. And a quickie yellow will bring us right back to things. We'll see if anybody will come back down the pit lane. I don't think they will after only, what was that, 3 laps under the green flag, Caleb? Wasn't much.
I believe so, yeah. Wasn't much there. Bauer's fortunately losing it there off of turn number 1. Apollo Hyde just didn't really have anywhere to go. Really tough break for both those, especially Apollo Hyde just not catching a break here in the middle stage of this race, getting involved in back-to-back cautions of no fault of her own, really.
Everybody is going to come down the pit lane here once again.
Looks like fresh tires are real hot commodity.
Oh, fresh tires are about as hot of a commodity as you can get as Focusado will be back down the pit lane. Kenny Campos is going to stay out this time by to get a lap led, so congratulations to him. But these guys are coming down the pit lane as much as they are at the Darlington Raceway, with just based on how bad the tire wear has been all night long. Trek Togger, did he take 2 tires just now? I think he did. Bobby Simpson certainly took 2 tires, and here we are. The strategy play has come out to play.
Oh, boy.
And this is going to shuffle up the field like a deck of cards as Trek Togger will move up from 6th to 1st to get us back to the green flag when we go back through the gears here in just a few moments. Oh, Bobby Simpson, he spins out. Those cold tires mixed with hot tires, and Simpson, who came out of the pit lane in 2nd, is likely going to go into the rear end of the pack, and that's not what you want. It's actually Kenny Campos is just going to stay out in general.
All right. Lots of varying strategies here under this caution.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it plays out. We'll see if these guys will do the choose this time by, and they indeed will. While they do the choose, we'll go ahead and quickly take a look and see what happened with Anthony Bauer and Apollo Hyde out of the corner. As this is Bauer just way up the racetrack, Hyde jumping on the brakes. Those two jamming up a little bit there, and they're both hard into that inside safer barrier to bring out the 4th caution flag of the afternoon. As Hyde will restart from the back end of the field, went from 9th to 15th. And will once again have to claw her way back up through, but we're 2 by 2 once again. And, well, this cast of characters at the front end of the field is certainly something. You got Kenny Campos and Trek Togger in row 1, Tyler Stallhood and Ike Durbin in row 2. And the first car with 4 fresh Goodyear tires is Dunlop Prod, who's going to line up on the inside of row number 3. So we go back through the gears. We're past the midway point through this race. It will be 29 laps to go when Kenny Campos will lead the field back through the restart zone. And here we go. Green flag back out in the air. 29 to go from Hanford. And how many more cautions do we get? Schisato spinning the tires a little bit in the 97. Durbin trying to go, and now Campos is around. Kenny around for the race lead. Tyler Stallhood around as well. And right back immediately to the caution flag. We didn't even get 200 feet.
Good grief. You know how the saying goes, cautions breed cautions.
And these cautions definitely took their Cialis or whatever. They definitely took their honey packets here tonight, Caleb, and they are ready to breed. Trek Togger is going to win the race back to the caution flag after jumping, or really just spinning it up, not really getting going on the outside lane. 5th caution flag of the afternoon. And looking at the initial replay on my monitor, yeah, Kenny just lost it in the middle of the corner, and then Tyler bumped off of Dunlop Prod. We'll see if anybody will come down the pit lane before officially reviewing this accident. Oh, a little bit of a jam up here as the cars slow down for the pace car. Nicky got into Crystal as those two will make some contact between the 84 and 85 cars. We'll see if Trek is going to roll the dice here once again and stay out. He will. Is anybody going to come down for fresh tires? Apollo Hyde. Nope. Apollo is going to stay out. But both Stallhood and Campos are going to come down the pit lane pretty obviously. So Trek Togger will remain out front for the time being. But we'll get another look and see what happened here between the two race leaders right on the restart. And we're going to go right back to the restart itself. And you're going to watch that 60 car not get going on the outside lane whatsoever. Didn't really spin the tires as much as we thought. But Kenny just loses it himself, and then Tyler bumping off of Dunn. Both those cars go around. And anarchy really just ensues. There's nothing that they can really do, Caleb. And, you know, for guys, you know, it's not exactly, they're not exactly on cold tires on this restart. Because, again, they didn't really come down the pit lane for anything. It's not what you want, though. And it puts us under the caution flag once again.
Definitely not what you want there. Really tough break there They're both Campos and Stallard, like you said, at the time, running 1-2 on that racetrack. They both had a really good jump there off that restart, with the 60 getting off there a little bit sluggish. But, yeah, like you said, unfortunately, Campos just kind of lost it there through turn 1. And like I was talking about earlier on the race, definitely seems like one of those corners that could be plowing tight 1 second and completely lifts the car off its tires the next second. Or if that might have just bit the 71 at Kenny Campos. And yeah, unfortunately, Tyler Stallard tried to give Campos enough room, tried to stay as high as he could, when unfortunately right above him was the 74 Dunlop-Rod. They ended up making contact and sending the 7 around. So yeah, tough break for the both of them. And they're going to go from starting in the front of the field all the way to the back.
Yeah, and it's really just that progressive banking, which has been very troublesome for a lot of these drivers, especially in turn number 1, as it looks like we're going to get a quickie caution here 1 lap early. So we'll get things situated here. Try and go to our to-go ticker. We'll see who's got the fastest lap. Doesn't want to say who's got the fastest lap. It's Vincenzo Focusato. He's got the fastest lap of 37.135. It'll be 25 to go at the line with Togger, Laprade, Focusato, Durbin, and Crystal Bennett. Your top 5. Emi Schizzato, actually, Emi Schizzato is going to be in 3rd, and you got Drew Fast going to round out the top 5. See what we can do. Green flag back out in the air, and Trek is going to lead them through the restart zone. Gets a much better jump on the inside lane this time, and he is off and away.
Schizzato,
big moment there for Emi, a very big moment.
Turn 1. Fraud already catching back up to the back bumper of that 60, looking on the outside. Togger holding firm on an inside lane for now, but Fraud breathing down the back bumper of that 60, dives to the inside here as we head to turn number 3.
Here comes Dunn.
Not going to risk it there. Going to slot in back behind the 60. Going to go to the outside, though. Has a good run, potentially, here down this front straightaway. He's looking to the outside here as we head across the line into turn number 1. We've seen that as a great passing opportunity. Togger sends
here comes the crossover.
He goes up the track and through goes Dunlop-Rod.
A textbook crossover maneuver there for Laprade as Trek got very tight at the worst possible time, and he will fall from 1st to 3rd on the span of only a single radii. And Apollo Hyde not quite done yet, but she's running out of daylight. 23 laps to go this next time around. She's going to need a slew of cautions to come out as Kenny Campos. He's very slow on the front straightaway. Something amiss on that Realtree 71 Camaro. Might be a dire mechanical issue on that 71. He's very slow. It sounds like he might be down a couple of cylinders as Bobby Simpson nearly breaks sideways in turn number 1. He's able to catch the car right underneath of him. But now, it's a classic battle we've seen several times here on the NESRN. Laprade versus Focusato. Seen it a couple of times down the Fuel Super Speedway Series level, and we've seen it here in the Grand National Division a couple of different times as everybody is clamoring to get around this 60 machine of Trek Togger, who's got older tires than pretty much everybody. Here comes Focusato taking a long way around Laprade for the race lead as everybody trying to get around the Suburban Cowgirl Steakhouse 60 machine. Drew Fast trying to poke his nose to the inside. Is going to get way tight through the corner. Togger up the track, and around goes Fast. For the second time today, is going to nose it into the wall. Was there contact? The light is still green. We are still green at the moment, and Fast ran right into the tire barriers as he was coming back out on track, and now the caution flag will fly. Hard in the inside wall goes Bobby Simpson. He's able to hold on to it, but we're under our 6th caution flag of the day, and it was, in fact, deemed a multi.
I saw Togger kind of struggling a little bit, probably on those older tires, running up the racetrack. Saw him go really wide there through turn 2. He caught the wall and probably might have ricocheted down to the 4, excuse me, of Drew Fast.
Definitely
Probably
looks like it.
Around. So, yeah, really tough break there for Drew Fast.
Ooh, and there goes Dunn.
Oh.
And Drew is just going to pile drive into the 86, and oh boy.
Oh, Oh boy.
That's not what you want. That is what is scientifically called ARCA brakes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yikes.
And Bobby Simpson looking a little bit like Cletus McFarland out there, as everybody will come down the pit lane once again. That's something we haven't really talked about tonight, as it was announced earlier that Cletus McFarland, he's going to be going Grand National racing at the Rockingham of all places. Caleb, what are your thoughts on Cletus McFarland driving a Hendrick car at Rockingham of all places? That just sounds like a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Considering his experience, it's definitely a bit of an interesting decision, but I'll hold it out. I'll let him cook. We'll see what he can do, but I don't know.
I mean, Rockingham it's certainly no picnic, as LaPrade is going to get the race lead back from the 37 after our sixth caution flag of the night. And a couple of cars are going to stay. I believe Stolworthy is trying to get another lap led in that one machine. But let's go back with the 4 and see what happened here for caution number 6, although it's pretty obvious what happened. It just another unfortunate racing deal, which was no fault of Drew Fastone. You know, he was going for it. You know, it all started when, you know, this outside lane is just clamoring up. It's clogged like a toilet at Taco Bell behind that 60 car. Up the racetrack goes Trek, comes back down, and yeah, just nowhere for Drew Fast to go. He has had certainly an up and down night in that KSDT Camaro. He's going to hit the wall there, the tire barrier a little bit, and yeah, and there's Bobby Simpson. He just lost it, and kind of Dale Earnhardt himself into that turn 3 wall. But yeah, it's just like we said, that's the second incident that Fast has been involved in tonight. We'll get another look at it here before we'll go back green. See the 60 car go way wide. Didn't look like there's a whole lot of contact, and yet Drew is very, very lucky that 4 car did not nudge directly into the tire barriers right at the end of turn number 2. Right behind that apex. So he's very fortunate where that crash happened. Of course, Bobby Simpson doing a little extra agricultural work. It's been fun. It's fun to watch these guys race on a very technical track like this, Caleb, and especially coming down to crunch time. I don't think we've seen our last caution flag of the night.
Yeah, definitely not. It's just the aggression's just going to keep ramping up, especially considering where we are now in the race. Like I talked about, starting to get to crunch time here. The patience is going to start running thin, and I definitely do not think we've seen our last caution. But it's definitely been a very fun race here so far, and I'm very excited to see how these closing laps will play out. Still, I honestly think that about anyone up here towards the front of this field can win. We've seen a lot of comers and goers so far here in this race, and just have to see how it plays out. Got a lot of new faces up here towards the front, with Taylor Stolworthy staying out. Got Bud Kerrang up here, Blake Warren, Grant Warren, both Warren brothers up here. It's shaping up to be an exciting restart and an exciting finish to this race.
This is certainly a bold strategy by the Warrens and Kerrang, who have spent the majority of this race at the tail end of the field or off the lead lap, as Taylor Stolworthy will be the race leader going back through the gears. But there's that peak number 12 machine for Warren Wentz Racing and Bud Kerrang in that Old Bay number 57 car. I had some Old Bay fries earlier tonight. Well, 5 guys screwed up my order, so I went back home, put some Old Bay on the fries. They're not quite Cajun style, but they will suffice.
Yeah, it'll get the job done.
And here we go. A little bit of a jam up on the restart. Kerrang did not get going on the inside whatsoever. I thought we were going to get 4 wide. Way up the racetrack goes Grant Warren. He's riding the lightning on the outside wall. He just about stopped there in that Quaker State machine. And it's the Oklahoma Land Rush heading west here, as Kerrang will immediately drop back in the 57. Oh, Bobby! Bobby! Can he hold on to it? He,
That's gonna be
just
yellow.
nudges it. Tyler's going to go around, however, though. And Stallhood will bring out caution number 7 in the 7 car. And that was nearly a magnificent save out of Bobby Simpson, but just nudging it in. And the cautions once again ramping up for round 7.
Taylor, I don't want to alarm you, but you might want to look in your mirror.
Oh my lord. Apollo Hyde, after getting involved in 2 separate accidents, has jumped up into that 2nd spot. And that was full stop, Caleb. That was just a disaster waiting to happen based on how shuffled up this field was. Oh lord.
Mind you, Apollo Hyde, I think, restarted 8th.
She did. 9th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It was 8th. My apologies. As
Still.
Vincenzo focused. Oh, Vinny's going to stay out. Drew Fast's going to come back down the pit lane. Same thing with a couple other drivers that were involved there. This would be a race that Apollo Hyde would win in. The spin twice and end up winning anyway. As, let's take a look at this restart right from the top. Because it was just pretty much doomed right from the start. It was Bud Kerrang, who was the control car. He gets way out in front of Stolworthy, just does not go, and that jams up that entire inside lane. And Hyde, making it 3 wide right between the 33 as Warren just overdrives the corner, smacks the wall. Like it's a stepfather. It's its stepfather. And then, again, everybody is just Oklahoma land rushing into the corner. And Kerrang just gets into the 30. We were focusing on Bobby, but we didn't notice Tyler Stallhood get really spun around in that little bit of a jam up there in the 7. And that's ultimately what triggered the caution flag. But that start was just pretty much doomed right from the drop of the green flag, but right before they even got in, Caleb.
That was pretty much straight chaos there from the get-go. Yeah, that 57 just jumped out a little too far there before getting to the line. Probably tried to check up a little bit to kind of re-justify that starting position and just didn't really get going there off of the start. Really checked up that inside lane. And yeah, from then it was pretty much chaos as everybody got bunched together and tried to go for the same real estate. He said everybody just kind of Oklahoma land rushed each other, and fortunately resulted in a couple cars making contact and ended up with Bobby Simpson and Tyler Stallhood there going around. But looks like we're going to get another quickie yellow here, but Apollo Hyde took big advantage of all that chaos and was able to move up to 2nd place, and now looking to potentially be one of the control cars here on this restart.
Well, it's going to line up in that first spot here on the restart in case you're just tuning in. First and foremost, we welcome you back to the Hanford 140K presented by ErnhrtFanRacing. Here on the North American Sim Racing Network, Trey Wright and Caleb Rose in the booth as we got 13 laps to go in tonight's race. As what has been a chaotic, but not too chaotic where it turns into a bleep show, as we've seen with a couple of different times here, but we're closing in on the final little bit of this race. It'll be 13 to go once we go back through the gears. Hyde, Stolworthy, Focusato, LaPrade, and Bennett, your top 5. Green flag back out of the gear. A great jump on the inside for Apollo. And here we go. Can we do 13 laps unadulterated without a caution? Stolworthy just about losing and trying to transition back to the inside. And if we don't get a caution flag, that's going to very, very, very heavily favor that 100 machine. And she is already back out in the race lead, trying to get that 3rd win of the season. Was just a couple 100 yards away last week from making it 4 for 4. Unfortunately, ran out of gas in the final turn, and she's looking for a little bit of revenge against the NR2003 online gods. 12 laps to go at the line. And how can LaPrade try to drive this 100 machine? Oh, a very big wiggle for Apollo out of the corner as Anthony Bauer up in the outside wall. He's able to keep that Dodge straight. That was a massive wiggle coming out of the corner. We've seen that with a lot of guys today, Caleb, where just
Rich Roy gets turned.
Roy around along with the 86, no caution yet.
There it is.
And finally, the caution flag will come out as Ike Durbin gets tangled with Rich Roy. And Vincenzo Focasato's not going to like two of his teammates taking each other out. Or he might actually, as he was a second away from this Hyde LaPrade battle, as we're under the caution flag for the 8th time tonight. And I really need to make an 8th and 9th cautions graphic, Caleb, because we have unfortunately reached that number a couple of different times.
That definitely might be something for the checklist there.
It's been something. But then, you know, junior hockey happens. I've got offline stuff. I've got other work. I got work at Kohl's, so that sometimes gets put on the back burner. But we're under caution flag numero 8. As here we go with under 10 laps to go. Here comes the field. It is the money stop.
And we're splitting.
Oh, we are.
We're splitting big.
Yeah, we're in Hanford, California right now, but by the way that these guys are shuffling and splitting them, we might as well be in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we will be next week. Here on the Fuel Grand National Series side of things. Everybody will come down and make their money stop. We'll take a look at the upcoming schedule as Hyde able to just slide into her pit box nice and easily is Las Vegas. Next Wednesday, March 11th at 8:50 Eastern Time, right here on the NESRN. Then we go to the Daytona Backstretch Oval, the Fuel Motorsports Park, and the Rockingham Speedway. Looking at the next upcoming month. What a battle off of the pit lane. I think LaPrade may have just edged out the 100. He did.
I tell you what, that 74 has been on his A game all night long on that pit lane. What a stop there for that 74.
He absolutely has. As LaPrade is going to be the first car out on fresh tires. All these cars out in here, however, stayed out. And again, once we get to the point of no return, 5 laps to go, all bets are off. There's no caution flags. We could have cars flipping. We could have cars doing a sport ender. Does not matter. As we'll take a look and see what happened with Rich Roy and Ike Durbin. As those two getting together. Turn number 2 has in typical triangular shaped tracks faction as a little touch, a little nudge. Yeah, the turn number 2, it's not quite the tunnel turn here at Hanford, as that's more so towards turn number 1, but turn 2 has definitely been Calamity Corner, and it's proven that here several times tonight. I think 5 of our caution flags have originated in the second turn. It's been something. That's going to set ourselves up for a good old-fashioned 8-lap shootout. Can we do 3 laps without getting a caution to get us to the point of no return? If we can. Oh, this is going to be a restart for the ages, Caleb.
Absolutely. This is going to be a fun one here. Like we're talking about, the field completely divided there under that pit stop. About half stayed out, half came in. This is shaped up to be an incredible restart. If we can't get to that point of no return, this is definitely shaping up to be quite the wild finish.
Oh, did Trek Togger fall out? Oh, I think Trek may have fallen out of the server from the race lead. As Crystal Bennett will take the green flag. That is just horrible, horrible timing for Trek Togger to fall out. And now here we go. Stolhood as Kerrang is going to go up into the outside wall. And how fast can LaPrade knife his way through the field as 9 cars stayed out there? Bobby Simpson has retired from the race. 17 cars remain out on track, but it's Crystal Bennett right now with the race lead. Drew fast underneath of her, but watch this 74 of LaPrade. He and Apollo Hyde are the first 2 cars on tires way through the track. Crystal Bennett had a moment, and now LaPrade already up to 4th. My apologies there. The caution flag was not out. 7 to go. Once we get to lap number 59, that's the point of no return as Togger finally back out on track, and I just feel gutted for him for falling out at the worst possible time. Blake Warren pancakes the wall. Meanwhile, LaPrade in a dogfight right now for that third spot as Drew Fast right now in the race lead. I don't know how long that's going to last. Here comes LaPrade. He steams around Stolhood. He steams around Crystal Bennett. That number 74 car on rails right now. He's up to second, and he's got a set sight on that 4 machine. Drew Fast, a little bit of a sitting duck, nearly going around was Trek Togger. He's able to hold it straight. Nicky Conti, rather, that was Emmy Schizzato, also nearly going around, but we'll keep everything straight.
Closing fast on that 4 of Drew Fast. He's going to have a run here down the front straightaway. Here he comes down low.
Dives down to the inside. 5, count them, 5 laps to go.
And we've reached it.
Point of no return. We could have a car go into the grandstands, and that wouldn't mean anything, as Dunn LaPrade has got out to the race lead. And now what can Apollo Hyde do? Hyde right now has got 2 cars to get around. We got 1 car around. The caution flag is out.
Oh.
The yellow flag has flown as we're at the point of no return. That may have been an accidental hit of the caution flag. As we're at 5 laps to go, somebody said multi. That may have been a mistake, but that mistake may cost Dunn LaPrade if Apollo Hyde is able to get back up in this battle. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, that is not what LaPrade wanted at all.
He looked to be running away with this race lead. And we're probably going to get a 1-lap restart would be my guess. As that is, again, Trek Togger, you go back to what he was through. He restarted from the race lead, shades of Brad Keselowski at Indianapolis a couple of years ago. But it looks like we are likely going to get a 1-lap shootout in this race, or a green-white checkered in this race if we do the choose code this time by. And it looks like we are. Oh, Apollo Hyde is going to take the outside lane right behind the 4 of Drew Fast. And we'll take a look at what happened at the caution flag after the race has completed. But it will be a 2-lap dash to the end to decide the Hanford 140K. You got Dunn LaPrade, first car on 4 fresh Goodyear tires, the race leader. You got Drew Fast in second on the outside. He is on older tires. The next car in line that's on fresh tires is Apollo Hyde, who's right behind that 4 car. I think Hyde, I'm really surprised that Apollo took that outside lane, because I got a bad feeling Drew Fast is going to spin the tires on those older tires, and this is just going to be LaPrade's race to lose at that point. But here we go. It's not official overtime.
All bets are off.
It is a natural green-white checkered to decide race number 4 of the season. Dunn LaPrade in that Schaefer Group 74 Camaro is the control car. He'll lead the field back through the restart zone. Green flag in the air. Sticks are high in the air. 2 to go from Hanford. Immediately jumping out of line as Apollo Hyde's got Drew Fast right in front of her. Those 2 are on the outside wall. And that may have been the race right there as LaPrade steaming off towards the sunset. Bennett with the slide job right in front of Apollo, right in front of the field, and around goes Crystal. That's going to give Apollo 3rd potentially. Stolhood around. Stolhood, he nearly gets hit broadside. He is upside down right into the pit wall. White flag in the air one more time around the Hanford Motor Speedway.
Bit of a lockup by LeBron. They're going into one. Drew fast parks the bus mid-corner, but Apollo still gets by. But still, I think she might be just a little too far back to make something happen here.
We'll see what she can do in this final little bit of a mile stretch. It's all going to come down to that flat turn 3. Hyde behind by about maybe 8 or 9 lengths. She'll dive it into the corner too far out. Was nearly lost, but it's been found for the first time this season. Checkered flag in the air. It goes to Dunlop. He's going to get the job done here at Hanford.
What a wild race.
9 caution flags on the night. Apollo Hyde will...
Oh, and we've got one out of the vicinity.
Who's out of the ballpark?
Blake Warren.
Oh, my Lord.
I was wondering if anybody would just full throttle it to the line.
You know, come on,
Looks like
guys.
it.
We already made fun of Vincenzo Focusato several times over for the sport ender in Atlanta a few weeks ago. Oh, I love you, Blake. He's just sitting there. Let's see. He is just sitting there. He's sitting. I can't exactly get a great view. There he is. He's on the embankment. That's classic Blake Warren for you, ladies and gentlemen, and that was a classic Dunlop victory as he is able to get his first win of the season. But what a late charge there from Apollo Hyde. And it was just, I really think that decision came down as Dunn's going to burn it down on the front straightaway. I really think that decision to take the outside lane is really what kind of sealed it at the end there, Caleb. And LeProd is taking advantage of nothing but open pastures and racetrack in front of him. He's your race winner here at Hanford as he burns it down right in front of the race fans.
Definitely, that final restart played a lot into the finish of this race. I didn't really know how that outside was going to work for Apollo, but yeah, after they kind of split up there off of turn number 2, both caught the wall. I think that kind of sealed the deal for everybody. And I tried as she might. Apollo gave a really good run after she got up to second, and maybe if she had a lap or 2 more, could have potentially taken the fight to the 74 of Dunlop-Rod, but a great win there for the 74. Arguably probably deserved that race win with the caution flag coming out within 5 to go after it looked like he was just going to pull away with this race victory. But, yeah, like I was talking about, what a crazy race here from the Hanford Motor Speedway, and Dunlop-Rod going to burn it down into victory lane.
And he definitely burned it down there as we take a look at our official results of the race. Dunlop-Rod wins by 3/4 of a second over Apollo Hyde. Drew Fast is going to end up finishing in 3rd. Vincenzo Focusato was 4th, and Taylor Stolworthy coming back to finish in 5th. Schizzato, Kenny Campos, Nikki Conti, Trek Togger, and Crystal Bennett rebounded to finish, get a top 10 finish after spinning with 2 laps to go. Blake Warren and Grant Warren 11th and 12th. Bud Kerrang 13th. Ike Durbin was the first car a lap down in 14th. Tyler Stolhood, Anthony Bauer, Rich Roy, and Bobby Simpson rounded out the 18-car field here at the Hanford Motor Speedway. We're going to take a couple of replays here before we'll get into our post-race interviews. We'll take a look at that final caution flag of the race. And then everything that really just transpired at the end. As, again, I'm not entirely sure what happened. Well, that's what happened to put us under the caution flag for the last time tonight. As Conti got into Blake Warren, around went Blake, and I think, you know, that instinctively Blake just said multi. And I don't think anybody realized that we were at the 5 laps to go point. You know, the point of no return, and that's just very unfortunate. But then you had all the chaos. It started with Rich Roy going around. That was in front of both Warren and Conti. But what happened here with Tyler Stolhood going around through the corner? Again, it was Bennett sliding in front of Apollo Hyde, just about losing it, nudging it right into the tire barrier. Was still able to salvage a top 10 finish after all of that. And then Yeah, Stolhood just lost it out of the corner. Oh, he got hit broadside there by Bauer right into the wall. And a heavy shot there for that RCA number 7 to put him out of contention here. But what a race, what a finish. Fuel Grand National at a technical track never fails to amaze. And it is always, it's always a thing of beauty here at Hanford and here in the Fuel Grand National Series level things. But we're not done yet, ladies and gentlemen. Before we go into our post-race interviews here, Caleb, your initial final thoughts on the race. A very fun race and a very chaotic, but relatively, it was chaotic, but within the realm of calmness. And it was a fun race at a fun track, nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't really know what to expect going in, but I definitely had a lot of fun here tonight. This was a great race, like you kind of talk about. Definitely kind of chaotic, but kind of balanced, kind of chaotic. We still had some decently long green flag runs there. We saw a lot of great racing, a lot of great battles here tonight, and this was definitely a very, very fun racetrack. Definitely brought a lot of technicality to the table with its different corners and just the overall complexity of the track, and yeah, really produced some very, very fun racing here tonight, which I was kind of talking about. Brought out the best in these drivers here tonight, and definitely brought out the best of guys like Dunlap, Apollo Hyde. Great recovery from that 100 machine of Apollo Hyde, making it up to second, but Dunlap, absolute class of the field here tonight. Gonna walk away with the victory, and it was definitely a fun one, as is usually the case here in the Fuel Grand National Series.
Well, we'll hear from our podium finishers of Drew Fast, John Leprod, and Apollo Hyde. We'll also try to hear from Nikki Conti, the designer and owner of this racing facility. We'll talk to her a little bit about track design later on after the initial podium drivers have been interviewed. But we're going to take a short break. We're going to get our post-race interviews set up, and when we come back, it'll be time to break down what was a fantastic race here at the Hanford Motor Speedway, and Dunlap gets win number 1 of the season here in the Hanford 140K, presented by ErnhrtFanRacing. Don't go anywhere, folks.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot of time.
A wild 63-lap race at the Hanford Motor Speedway has wrapped up race number 4, the Fuel Grand National Series, 8th season of competition here on the NES Arena, as we welcome you back to the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage of the Hanford 140K. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose up in the booth. And we've reached our 3 podium finisher drivers, where drivers have finished inside the podium. And it was a fun race, and it was a very competitive race. And we'll bring in our first of 3 drivers that finished inside the podium. Driver of the number 4 KSDT Chevrolet Camaro, Mr. Drew Fast. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
I sure do.
Well, you were certainly fast all night long, but, going into this race, this is a very technical track compared a little bit to Autodrome de Saint Felician, a little bit, and a little bit more Pocono and Talladega dashed in there. During your testing of this race and going into tonight's race, what were you really trying to play around with, and what was your really strategy coming into this race here tonight in this 18-car field?
To be honest, I had no real expectations for this race. I wasn't really comfortable with the car for during practice, and especially in turn one. Never really figured that one out. So, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of played it to survive, and somehow, even though I was, involved in a couple accidents, it still kind of worked out at the end. So.
We get back to those two accidents that you were involved in. One of them being relatively late in the race, but you're able to battle back and be in contention for the race win here. But how hard is it really to when you spin the car around in turn number 2 and you're able to just drive through the field? What was the real mindset of yourself trying to drive your way back through the field? Trying to take advantage of some pit strategy there at the end there.
Yeah, so I knew I was fast in like turns 2 and 3. I could make up a lot of ground on people and pass them in those 2 turns. Turn 1 was really my problem, so I just kind of took turn 1 every lap as just to survive and don't wreck in that turn. And the other 2 is where I made up my time. But then there was a lot of just pit strategy at the end that kind of worked in my favor. I pitted the second to last caution, where a lot of people didn't, and then didn't pit on the last caution, so it kind of threw me up in the field quite a bit, and just kind of worked out from there.
Yeah, and then that last run, that a little bit there you had with both Dunn and Apollo. What was it like racing the top 2 legends here of this league, and what more do you think you could have used there at the end to try and make this a 3-way fight for the win?
Well, I knew they had newer tires than me, so there wasn't really. I mean, I think I could have held Apollo off if I didn't just screw up the turn 1 last lap a little bit. Because I think I matched him in turns 2 and 3. So I think if I just didn't screw up turn 1 as badly as I did, I would have held him off. I don't know if there's really much I could have done with Dunn, though. He was just way faster. At least when he caught me, he was way faster pretty much the whole track around. So on those new tires. So, but I do think if I had just held down turn 1 a little bit better, I could have held second place there.
Caleb, you got anything for our 3rd place finisher here this evening?
Well, it was definitely quite the intriguing race here tonight. Definitely have to give you a lot of credit for that recovery. You definitely had a fair share of struggles in that race, getting involved in a couple accidents, but in the end, you recovered well, and hey, podium finish, definitely nothing to scoff at there, so hey, great job out there tonight, my man.
Thank you.
Well, Drew, before we'll let you go here, we'll give you the floor to thank any sponsors you want. If there's anybody here on the NES or in airwaves that you want to shout out, the floor is yours for as long as you want, my man.
Well, shout out to whoever car I'm borrowing, because it's not even my car. I'm just using a car that was in the folder, so shout out to whoever made this car.
Chad Little, I think. I'm pretty sure that's a Chad Little car. Or a Jesse Little car for the JD Motors, JD Racing. It's a nice looking KSDT automobile here.
Yeah, sure is. Kind of just showed up to race and borrowed a car that was the number I wanted. So maybe someday, eventually, I'll get my own car.
Well, hey, just send us a DM in the paint, the paint channel in the Discord, and should be able to hook you up. It's about time you're able to run a custom car of your own, but this looks pretty nice out on track, to be honest.
Yep.
Anybody else you want to shout out, or?
No, I think I'm good.
Well, sounds like a plan. As our 3rd place finisher of the evening, Drew Fast, taking it home to a spin and podium here tonight in that KSDT number 4 machine. Congratulations on a podium. We'll see you next week over in Sin City, Las Vegas.
Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
It was Drew Fast, driver of the number 4 KSDT Trying to see what the hood sponsor is. Series Seating. Number 4, GD Motorsports Automobile, getting a nice third place finish here this evening after being in the contest pretty much all race long, and was able to get the job done here tonight. Not quite to Dunlop just yet, but we'll go to our second place finish here in just a moment.
User was moved to your channel.
And now up to our second place finisher of the evening, a driver that certainly had an eventful evening in that Pepsi automobile. This is Apollo Hyde. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
I do.
Well, you certainly, like we said with Drew Fast, you went through your fair share of chaos tonight, spinning 3 times in this event, if I'm not mistaken. But we're able to
Just
battle
twice.
all the way, just twice. Not trying to handicap you a little bit more there, but spinning just twice in this race, but still spinning twice and getting a second place and not too shabby. But coming into a very technical track like this, we said it's got a little bit of a Pocono and Autodrome de Saint Felicien feel. You know, what do you feel like it races a little bit like a combination of those two tracks, or what are you really feeling out there in the race tonight?
I've made this comparison before, but I felt like that this track basically is Walt Disney World if Walt Disney World was ran on cheese graters.
Well, it certainly looked like it was being ran on cheese graters tonight, as you guys were pitting more than we'd typically see the Cup Series pit at old school Darlington or even old school Atlanta, with how many little bits and pieces of asphalt are jutting out of that the old racing surface. But how big of a factor was tire wear here tonight? Was it the end-all, be-all?
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. Like, if tire wear wasn't a factor, we would have been able to run cars that were significantly looser than what we were running. Like the cars that we ran in the qualifying session were so much looser than anything that we were running in the race. It's night and day. Because if you try to run a loose race car at this track, you're just going to be committing war crimes to your right rear tire, and you're never going to make it to the end of a run. And whether if it's best to think about it or not, obviously we didn't get the long run, but you have to be prepared for the long run to happen, because you never know when it's going to happen. You can just randomly get, even on a chaotic track like this, 30 clean laps in, and if you ran the stage like you're only going to get 10, you're going to be suffering those other 20 laps. Yeah, the tire wear was the name of the game tonight.
And then on the final restart, we saw you choose the outside lane right behind the 4 of Drew Fast, and it looked like that, you know, we're going to have a little bit of a chance there at the end, but you just came up a little bit short on the done there in the final little stretch of that race. Is there anything you wish that you could have done differently, or just kind of the way that the cards fell?
Yeah, I don't think that lane choice really would have mattered too much. I think that it was a combination of us not being aggressive enough with our adjustment on the final pit stop, and us running our car just a little bit too hard to try to get through the rest of the field that we were stuck behind on short time. So it's just a combination of a couple of different things that put us at a disadvantage. I know that we got boxed in by Drew and Crystal there at the end. I don't think it would have mattered. I'm pretty happy with second place. Pretty sure that keeps us in the points lead, and we are looking forward to next week at Las Vegas, which should be an awesome race.
We'll preview that race at Las Vegas, which you go back to the last couple of races we've had here on the NASRN with the Fuel Sportsman Series as well as the Fuel Grand National Series. It certainly always puts on a show, and I believe that, are you sponsoring that again next week, if I'm not mistaken?
I have not made that official yet, but more than likely we'll be putting some sponsorship money on that, because that's going to be that's one of my favorite tracks, honestly, is Las Vegas.
Well, it's certainly going to be an absolute banger next week, and Caleb, I know that you and I are going to be definitely psyched out for next week's race at Las Vegas, but do you have anything for our runner-up finisher here tonight?
I'll definitely have to say that was quite the race tonight here from the Hanford Motor Speedway, and definitely have to congratulate you there with a great P2 finish. Definitely had your fair share of struggles that night, but you managed to rise above them. And hey, you had a fantastic run, especially there towards the end. That one restart, cutting from 8th to 2nd, pretty much just about 2 corners, was absolutely incredible. I mean, that was some Dale Earnhardt type stuff right there. That was incredible. So definitely have to congratulate you on a great run, and I cannot wait to see what you can do come next time out at Las Vegas. That's definitely going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for Las Vegas either. It's going to be one of the races of all time. Every time that fuel goes to Las Vegas, we put on a show, and it's going to happen again.
It's definitely going to be a race of all time once again here in 1 week. We'll get to the upcoming schedule in just a little bit. But Apollo, you know the drill. Many times before, we'll give you the floor to thank any sponsors you want. If there's anybody you want to shout out here in the NESRN airwaves, the floor is yours for for a second place finish.
I certainly do have someone to shout out really quick. I'm not going to be able to be at this show myself, but a couple friends of mine are going to be hosting a concert in Highland Park, New Jersey. It's Pino's. The tickets there are going to be $15 at the door, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. If you're able to attend, I highly recommend getting out. If you're in the Highland Park area, get out, watch this show. They've got 5 performers there that are going to be phenomenal. I've seen them all perform before. They're great people, and you'll have the time of your life. So if you're in the Highland Park area, get out to it's called Annie Kai Volume 2 this Saturday. Be there.
Well, definitely sounds like a plan. You know what? That's my neck of the woods, so I'll definitely have to bookend that. And you know, it's definitely going to be a fantastic experience for anybody that goes. But congratulations, Apollo, on another top 3 finish, another top 2 finish. You got an average finish of 1.5, exiting race number 4 of the season. So you can lower that average finish a little bit more with a win at your favorite racetrack next week at Las Vegas. But thanks for coming on here for the post race.
All right, thank you very much, Trey. We appreciate you.
User was moved
That was
out of
Apollo
your
High,
channel.
driver of the number 100 Pepsi Subaru, finishing second in tonight's 63-lap race. We've got 2 more interviews to go as we'll take you into
User was moved
the
to your
man of the
channel.
hour, the man with the plan, Mr. Dunlap, our winner here tonight. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth.
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, you have been here and there when it comes to coming into races in the server. Your last race was 2 weeks ago at the Atlanta Motor Speedway with a coulda, shoulda potential win there at Atlanta, and you finally get the job done here 2 weeks later at a track in a race that was a little bit more chaotic than not a little bit as chaotic as Atlanta, but was within the realm of reality at least. And you're able to get the job done this time and rewrite history from 2 weeks ago. Congratulations, first and foremost, on getting the job done.
Yeah, thank you. Knew that that was very heartbreaking to lose the race like that 2 weeks ago, and thankfully it was able to rebound and get this win at a track like Hanford, which is one of my favorite racetracks to go to as well. So it alleviates the pain for sure, and just happy to be in victory lane once again, and yeah, just great racing all the way around when we had those green flag runs going and when we were getting going. I mean, it was action packed, as you all saw up on the booth and everyone watching at home.
It definitely was one heck of a race for Caleb and I to call up here. And, you know, it was very technical for you guys. It was a lot like Autodrome de St. Feliciano a little bit, but it was kind of like that race, but with a little bit more banking and then throwing a lot more tire wear into that. You know, we were talking with Paula right before you, where she described it as Walt Disney World with banking and a million little cheese graters. Do you really feel like it's that kind of similar sentiment as we saw we saw tire wear be the number one thing that really came down to it tonight?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. You could also probably say that it's like a methed up version of Mini Pocono because of the shape and how wild the track design is. That's how they designed it in real life too. And yeah, the tires was a pretty big factor. I was, fortunately, uh, you know, got a setup that I made a couple of changes with that was able to be able to do well with the tires, especially on the long runs. I noticed that when I was first uh, testing for this race last night, I knew that I was getting really, really loose like after 10 laps. And once I changed my racing lines, once I made some changes to the setup, and really once I, uh, you know, because I changed both of those things uh, and be more conscientious and be more gentle with the throttle input, it made all the difference too. I knew that I had to, you know, I was, uh, I was downshifting to the third and turn three quite a lot last night. I think that's what was causing me to have tires ripped to shreds and not be able to have tires that could sustain the rear tires that could sustain for long run. So I changed that during the race, except on those final 10 laps where I was downshifting the third and turn three. And yeah, it was just more, more or less, really just more confident. Probably the first time in this league in a long time, at least in an open setup, that I felt really, really I was probably the most confident in the field to win, to have a chance to win.
And you definitely look like the most confident in the field to win. I believe you led the most laps here tonight. It was an early dogfight between you, Apollo, and Vincenzo. Actually, Vincenzo got you by 3 laps on the most laps led, but we were able to get 16 laps led. Like you said, looking one of the more confident drivers out on the field here tonight. But again, with a track with a ton of tire wear, how hard is it to really manage your runs and try to just baby that car as much as you can, while also trying to outbeat the competition that is running just as fast as you're trying to?
Yeah, that's always a challenge because just like with tonight, you never know if we were going to get a long green flag run or we're going to get very uh the runs are going to be sporadic. We had a couple of runs early on where we went on for about 8 laps of green flag racing, and then it was 5, 6, or 3, 4 laps, or even one in some cases for the rest of the remainder of the race. So it was really kind of tough, especially on those short runs, because you had to decide on uh, how if you're going to stay out on all the tires or not. And yeah, it was just you want to be gentle with the throttle and gentle with your steering in order to save your tires as well. But really, it just comes down to how smooth you are, and and yeah, I mean that's just kind of the nature of it at this track. You gotta take care of your tires because if you go fast and you push hard early on, that's good. But if we have a long green flag run, you can kiss your tires goodbye because uh, they're gonna be non-existent after like 10 laps or so.
Yeah, we saw tire wear be the be all end all, but you were able to weather the storm and get the job done here tonight. But looking ahead to Las Vegas, hopefully we'd like to see you in the server next week at Vegas. We're talking with Apollo Hyde. She is so psyched for that race next week, and you've run really well at Vegas in the past. What are you looking forward to next week's race in Sin City?
Uh, Thankfully, I have a setup that I ran at a different league last year that was able to actually give me third in one race and win in another race, and I used that exact same setup uh, for that particular track at a field last year, and I was really having a really good time being able to chase down Zach, and I didn't quite get the win, but I think I definitely had probably one of the much better setups in that race. I felt like that I was really confident in the long run, especially the long runs, because that's where I was making up the most time. And so yeah, hopefully I can repeat it next week and get the job done in Las Vegas. But again, you got Apollo, Nikki, uh, Drew, Tyler. Uh, you also have Vincenzo. You really got a lot of talented drivers in this league. So I mean, anything can happen. That's what I always keep telling to myself.
Well, anything definitely can happen, and with how spread out the talent is in this field this season, we've already got 3 different winners in 4 different races. It's been we've seen it here tonight. We didn't know who was going to end up coming out with this race win with that final restart. I felt like everybody was able to have an equal chance, but like you said, you're the most confident, especially on those older tires, and especially on that setup, and you were able to get the job done here tonight. Caleb, you got anything for our race winner here for the Hanford 140K?
I gotta say, that was an absolute fantastic performance. It's definitely nice to see you back in victory lane here. And, like you were talking about confidence, and I do believe confidence was key. That was definitely on display here tonight. So definitely have to applaud you there on a great run. And definitely got to ask, what was going through your mind there as everybody was lining up there for the final restart? It's going to be a green-white checkered. I know the tensions were probably pretty high in that moment as the patient was running thin. So what were you thinking as you were lining up there for 2 laps to go?
Well, I muted my headset and just chucked it to my bed right beside me. Have a couple of feet away from me. That way, I don't have to. That I can limit any distractions. So that definitely less distractions. Taking that away for the final 2 laps was definitely a premium. Maybe not the brightest idea, depending on what happens on the track. You need to know what's going on, but it worked out for me for a 2-lap shootout, so I guess it's all right.
Hey, it worked out. Congratulations, my man.
Yep, thank you.
Well done. You know the drill by now. We'll give you the floor to thank any sponsors you want. If there's anybody you want to shout out here on the NASRN airwaves for a race winner here for Chaotic 63 lap event in Hanford, California. Don LeProd, the floor is yours.
Well, I want to give first and foremost, I want to give a huge, 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 huge shout out to Nikki Conte for creating this track. I know she put in a lot of rather monumental effort into this track when she went above and beyond, and to be able to have this track on the schedule is just again a testament to her talent in creating this track. So big thanks to her and for getting this track on the schedule as well, and also Few as well for getting this track on the schedule as well. Shout out to all the field drivers that were racing tonight. Shout out to you guys for up on the booth. Shout out to everyone watching at home, and shout out to Team EFR, and shout out to everyone for making me a better driver.
It's definitely that talent that you've been able to amass over the last couple of years certainly showed here tonight with very technical race at a very technical racetrack. Dunn, thank you so much for coming into the broadcast booth, and we'll see you next week in Sin City, USA.
Yep, thank you all. Have a good night.
You as well.
User was moved out of your
That was Dunn
channel.
LeProd, driver of the number 74, the Schaefer Group. Chevrolet Camaro. But before we get out of Dodge here tonight, we do have one more interview that we would like to get here.
User was moved to
And that's
your
the
channel.
driver, the number 85 machine of Nikki Conti. Not only a driver at this track, but also the designer and builder of this track. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth, Nikki?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can definitely hear you, and we could definitely see a beautiful racing facility here in Hanford, California that you absolutely knocked out of the park design-wise. And, the race was a little bit to be desired, but first and foremost, what really goes into designing a track in NR2003 with how, kind of ancient the technology is And also, why did you choose the old Hanford Motor Speedway out west in Hanford, California? What really went into that?
That's a bit of a loaded question, to be honest, but like,
It's the
um,
F-35 of questions. I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, first of all, I first learned about this track in a game called Indianapolis 500 Evolution on the Xbox 360. It was based on the version that IndyCar ran, not the configuration that this is. This is the version that NASCAR ran in 61 and USAC Stock Car ran in 64 and 65. This, I remember running on it when I was a kid in like high school, and I was thinking to myself, this is weird. I kind of like it. I don't remember how long ago I sketched up the initial geometry, but like it sat unused for a while, and then I got to thinking about it one day, and the initial part of the work came together in about a week and a half, and then all the subsequent work has been just like, I mean, it's a bit more than just fine tweaking some stuff. There's a lot of love that went into this track. I hope y'all appreciate it.
Oh, we definitely did. There was so many fun little details, whether it be the track itself or the garage area, or even the little marina we were talking about in the pre-race show. How this marina looks miles better than the one at the Miami Grand Prix that Formula One has got. It was certainly a labor of love, and especially getting back to that second part of the question, how much time and effort does it really take to design a track in Sandbox? I've fiddled with Sandbox a little bit here and there for just basic track edits, but starting from scratch, how much effort really goes into designing just what is a perfect facility that rivals any other track that has really come out over the last couple of years in terms of detail.
It's a lot. Like, NR's tools are pretty outdated. I remember a friend of ours that raced in Splash and Go, Blake Trowick. I doubt he's watching, but in any case, I remember him repeatedly referring to this game as an ancient piece of technology. So, like, the tools that gives you to work with, I think of something that Yahtzee Croshaw said about the mid-2000s and like the tools that people were using at that time to create do game development. And this is tangentially related to that. I'm sure you know.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Yahtzee Croshaw said that has always stuck with me is this track. Well, not this track. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. It's
You're
been
good.
a long night. Something that Yahtzee Croshaw said is that, like, what he admires about the PS2 era of video gaming is that it was, I don't want to say maybe open source isn't the right word, but it was accessible enough to smaller developers to realize most artistic visions without alienating people from trying, basically. And like, I got a lot of objects secondhand from other people. Like, I have to credit Sign On 44 for that water object. It's also the fact that this wasn't really an easy track to render in the first place. Like, I want to point out that, like, a couple things actually. First of all, when I initially started drafting this track in Sandbox, I reached out to the racing journalist, the IndyCar journalist, Robin Miller, on his Ask form about this track, because he was also helping out a friend of mine. I reached out to him, asked him what details can you provide, and he said, I got nothing. Straight up, I got nothing. And that's how I knew I picked something really esoteric, as if not even him could tell me anything about it. I mean, there's a lot of like finer details that also went into this track that you won't notice if you're just running it normally. This track does actually have an elevation map apart from the banking. Like that, the front stretch goes slightly uphill. The entire infield is modeled. That lake was there in real life. The orchards surrounding turns 2 and 3 were there in real life, or are there in real life, I should say. So is that irrigation pond. That railway isn't there in real life, but it should be, because that is actually analogous to a planned route for California high-speed rail that is presumably getting canceled because it's too woke or something like that. And yeah, I was saying during the race that, like, I don't blame anyone for having problems with this track, like, because I can pull up a video of the 1964 USAC stock car race here that showed, it was a highlight reel, obviously. It showed AJ Foyt roughing up the turn 1 wall twice. AJ Foyt in his prime. So, yeah, I'm really proud of what I've been able to do here. I lament that it's become my, like, kind of... It's my own personal model railway in a little bit more literal terms now, because there's that railway behind the front, the straightaway. But yeah, I don't know. I yapped a bit. Continue.
Well, I think that was very, very insightful, just how much, effort you've put into this track. And again, it's one of the best things I've ever seen in NR2003, not only offline but also online as well. And it definitely put on a very fantastic show. What was really going through your mind, and what was your feelings when Tyler said, "All right, you know what, we're gonna bring Hanford onto the GNS schedule"? What was really just going through your head at that point?
Well, see, the thing about that is that I kind of bullied him into doing it. I've been like advocating for running here for a while, and I don't regret coming here. I think there's something workable. Like those, I went into this race with extremely low expectations, and I mean, I felt kind of good in the first half of the race that, like, we got some green flag laps in. I thought people were handling it pretty okay. I don't want to sound like I'm blaming anyone that things kind of fell apart in the second half. I was saying post race that I felt like a lot of those incidents were preempted by people not using better discretion, not using better racecraft. But Apollo also pointed out to me while they were in the waiting room, that this was a couple people's first ever NR online race. So I respect that. We've had caution-free races here in the league I run, Ars. It always puts on a great show, and I don't know. I don't know that I can say much more than that. Like, yeah.
Well,
that's all I got.
It definitely was a very fun race for us to watch. It was a very fun race. Based on everything we've heard from everybody, it was a very challenging race, a very technical race. But I've heard nothing but positive things from Dunn, Drew, and Apollo on how the track raced, how tire wear was very important, and how it was a very fun race for them to really race, and it was a fantastic race for us to really watch. Caleb, you got anything for the owner and designer of probably one of the best modern tracks I've ever seen in Enter 2003?
Yeah, I definitely kind of got to bounce off what Trey said. That was definitely a fantastic piece of work. I really do think this track looks visually stunning, I guess, first and foremost. The track itself looks really, really nice. We were talking about that marina pre-race. I think that looks beautiful as well. A lot better than whatever they have at the Miami circuit. And I was talking about the outside of the track too. Looks really, really nice. It kind of looks like one of those just local dirt tracks you'd see like NASCAR Dirt to Daytona or something. I really like how it looks. I really like the railway and everything. I think that adds a lot of life and stuff to it. But yeah, just overall, it looks super nice. And I definitely thought it raced pretty nice here too. We had a lot of fantastic battles throughout the night. It definitely gave a bit of challenge to these drivers. But yeah, like Trey was talking about, we definitely heard a lot of positive feedback from the drivers in the interviews, and yeah, definitely produced a very, very fun show. So definitely have to congratulate you. And I mean, I know you two definitely have a lot of experience with Sandbox. I've tried getting into it a couple of times. Every single time I just kind of fail because it's a very complex program. So I definitely have to applaud you getting the ins and outs of that program figured out and making a track as visually beautiful as this and races as good as this. So hey, I definitely have to give you massive, massive props for this track, dude.
Thank you. I was gonna say that like I have a couple of people I need to owe for this. I feel like my experience in working on Make a Good Mega Man level, which is a Mega Man fan game project I'm involved in, you learn more from game dev, homebrew game dev projects like that than you realize. I got to thank Cooper, the entire EFR crew, for their keen eye and their feedback. I think I doubt Justin Lewis is out there watching this, but he's run this in his own offline league, and he's been my test dummy for a lot of what I do here. I gotta thank this is going way back, but the guys at Solstice too. Like, you know, I could look back on those days in like 2013, 2014, where I was a total douche, and I can admit that right now. But it also taught me this type of discipline that was necessary for me to not only make this track, but to run it. Like, the way this track was set up was very similar to the way that Solstice would run their tracks back in the day. Yeah, I shouldn't sound like too overly proud of myself, because again, I went into this race with low expectations, but my mindset with things lately is I'm just trying to put a good thing out there. And that means it means a lot to me to hear you guys say that and to hear other people say that. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but like, thank y'all genuinely so much.
It's the least we can do. You put blood, sweat, and tears into this facility. It looks absolutely perfect, and we can't thank you. We can't thank you more enough for giving the NR2003 community not only a fantastic track, but also reliving a little bit of NASCAR history back in the late 50s and the early 60s. A little bit of USAC history as well, and that's all part and parcel, most 100% up to you. So thank you so much for giving the NR2000 community, NR2003 community, this gem of a racetrack.
Yep, that's what I do.
We'll definitely see you next week at Las Vegas, hopefully. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on here and talking a little bit of track design with us after the fact.
Yep, thank you, Ken Squire and CBS.
User was moved out of your channel.
That's Nicky Conti, driver of the number 85 Hot Topic Ford Mustang and designer of this beautiful Hanford Motor Speedway. As Caleb, again, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but this track is nothing short of picture perfect, and it put on one hell of a show here tonight. Your final thoughts on the race before we get out of Dodge?
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very fun race here tonight from Hanford. Yeah, like I said, definitely have to give Nicky a ton of credit for making this track. Like I said, visually, it looks fantastic. It races very, very good. Saw a great race here tonight, and I definitely have to give all these drivers a lot of credit too. They absolutely put on a show for us here tonight, and that was definitely a very, very fun race. Saw a lot of factors in play tonight. Of course, just the general complexity and just demand of the track. You saw a lot of tire wear in this race, like Apollo was talking about. And yeah, just made for a really, really fun show, which, like I've probably said a billion times at this point, really brought out the best in all of our drivers here in the Fuel Grain National Series. So fantastic race all around. And next time out, it's going to be a lot of fun at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That's always usually such a fun racetrack to go to. And cannot wait to see how it all ends up shaking out.
It definitely is. Las Vegas, it is always such a fun racetrack, like you said. to go to, as especially for these open setup cars. Last year it was Zach Rogers was doing Zach Rogers things. He ran away with it at the end there a little bit, but this year with all, I don't want to say I don't think parity is the right word, but we have had it's been the field has been very competitive. You haven't had guys like Apollo Hyde and Vincenzo Focusato really running away with it. They've really had to earn these victories. Maybe you go back to the race at Under Armour. That was the only one where I could say that Apollo kind of really ran away with this one. That one, and even then, that's a little bit of a stretch. You go through all the races that we have had so far this season, Under Armour, it kind of dominated and led the last 5 or so laps there, but really had to earn that over Taylor Stallworthy. Atlanta, that was an absolutely cracked out race that Apollo won, and just with a last lap pass, and that was after having a dogfight, a magnificent 3-way dogfight between her, Dunlaprade, and I believe Taylor Stallworthy was also up in that battle for a little bit as well. You had Pensacola last week, which came down to pit strategy right at the end. Tyler Stallhood was able to beat out Apollo Hyde, and then you had today, which was a combination of all the types of racing that we have seen so far this season, and it definitely combined for one of the best races we'll see all season long. But Las Vegas is coming up in a week's time on Wednesday, March 11th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when pre-race will begin here on your home for the Fuel Grand National Series. Before we get out of Dodge, we'll go through the finishing order for tonight's race one more time with Dunlaprade getting the race win. Got it by 0.7 of a second over Apollo Hyde. Drew Fast finished in third. Vincenzo Focusato and Taylor Stallworthy rounded out the top 5. Emmy Schizzato, Kenny Campos, Nikki Conti, Trek Togger, and Crystal Bennett rounded out your top 10. Blake Warren, Grant Warren, Bud Kerrang, Ike Durbin, and Tyler Stallhood rounded out your top 15. Anthony Bauer, Rich Roy, and Bobby Simpson rounded out your 18-car field here tonight at the Hanford Motor Speedway. But that is going to do it for tonight's broadcast of the Fuel Grand National Series. Congratulations once again to Dunlaprade for winning the Hanford 140K. We go out to Sin City, USA this entire week here on the North American Sim Racing Network, from the Fuel Grand National Series to the Mission Barbecue Cup Series next weekend, I should say, here on the MVCS offline side of things. We go out to the Oregon International Speedway this Saturday afternoon right here on the NASRN. But on behalf of Tyler Stallhood for the Fuel Racing League, for Caleb Rose, my color commentator, for Nikki Conti, the designer of the Hanford Motor Speedway, my name is Trey Wright, saying so long from Hanford, California. This has been a presentation of the Fuel Racing League here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Have a good night, folks.